All right, let's go. So, welcome to another episode of eCom Raw Reality, where we talk all things e-commerce, Meta ads, Shopify, Google ads, email marketing, and especially strategy. And that's because usually you can be the best media buyer, you can be the best email marketer, and so on. But if you don't have a good product, or you don't have a good strategy, or you just don't talk well with the other departments of an ecom brand, then it will still fail. So something that I want to talk today about is something specific for Meta ads, just because Meta ads are still the best way to scale most brands out there, probably 95% plus. And what I want us to talk about is creative diversity. So thinking on a spectrum, right? You could have a video ad, which is a UGC type of video where someone talks about your product and so on. And another one where you have an image ad, which doesn't even show your product. It just asks a question such as, do you have back pain problem, right? And they are totally different. And I wanna talk about this because we're not in the good old Facebook golden ages anymore, meaning that you can't just throw one ad and make hundreds of thousands and millions. But right now it has become, I would say, more difficult, which is actually great, because since it's more difficult, just like with anything, going to the gym, dating, trying to make millions of dollars. So the harder something gets, the less people are trying, right? Because you know the likelihood of winning is lower, so you're not even trying in most cases, right? And I think all of us probably go through this. I mean, just think of it. Even myself, because I know with content, it's something that it's slightly harder to do or to have success with. That's why I do it less than actually working with ecom brands, where let's say I do have a recipe or enough recipes to actually have success there. So each with their own, right? That's why I'm talking right now about Meta ads, Facebook ads, because I've just seen it firsthand how it totally helps when you have a creative diversity with any brand, meaning that almost no brand out there will benefit from just having one or two ads instead of having like, not let's say 1,000 ads, that might be way too extreme, but let's say around 100 or 50. The sweet spot might be anywhere between, I would say 30, 50, once you find things that work, and over 50, over 100 when you're still testing a lot. And this totally depends on the budget, right? It's just like with a basketball or football game, right? If you're up 2-0, right, in a football game, or in basketball, if you're up 80 to 60, right, that's a comfortable lead. That's why you won't push yourself that hard, because you don't need to, right? And that makes sense, because think of it, if you push yourself too hard, you risk injuring yourself and not playing in the next game. So to some extent that's similar with e-commerce, because if you have some room to test, right, you can spend more money even if it's not profitable, because you know it's likely to help you scale later on. And I would say that's why it's really important to just focus on the strategy. I mean, pushing buttons as a media buyer, creating designs as an email marketer, looking at the numbers as a CMO, right? Because even right now, in the past month or so, I've taken on a brand that before had an agency or maybe even two agencies and also a CMO, right? So just looking at what was happening, it was a mix of things not working because of lack of communication, not everyone understanding the whole parts of the business, right? So even right now, I'm still getting used, and I'm even telling the brand owner that it takes some time for me, for my team to actually get used to understanding what are the actual pain points of the people who are buying the product. Because that's what I mean by creative diversity. you need different types of formats, images, videos, GIFs maybe, right? Still images that, let's say, act like a GIF, right? Basically a GIF made out of 4 images that just swap between each other, right? And I would say that in most cases you need all of them, or at least test all of them. And also, besides that, I would say that it's really important to focus on the actual messaging of the ad, because I believe that is the most important. But also, besides messaging, right? Besides focusing on different pain points, right? Because think of it, someone might be buying your product, a shirt, let's say a simple shirt. Someone, because they like how they feel in that product, right? Other people might buy it because they want to impress other people, right? Then you have maybe a select group of people that just need an additional color in their wardrobe, right? So that's another different way of trying to attract someone, by asking them relevant questions, right? Because, for example, are you looking to diversify your, let's say, what's the word here? Are you trying to diversify your wardrobe, right? That's a perfect question for someone who would be interested in actually changing their wardrobe. Besides that, think of someone who wants to, let's say, lose weight. That's a very interesting example, because there are so many people out there who want to lose weight. And for losing weight, there are so many things, right, that you can do. I mean, it's workouts, it's a coach, a program that you can sell, it's the nutrition plan, it's the actual food, it's an alternative to the food that they typically eat, right? So there are so many angles when it comes to losing weight. And just as an example, if you're talking about losing weight, maybe you just need something that has less calories, or something that makes you feel full, even though it still has calories, right? And if you think about it, there are also other things, such as, let's say, Netflix. You could think of it as a way to lose weight, and let me tell you why. Because if you're watching Netflix and you're actually paying attention, not just being like distracted, right? If you're actually watching Netflix and paying attention, then you might be more likely to lose weight than being, let's say, around your friends at that time, you know? This is a very crazy example, I would say, because many people actually snack during a show or something. But personally, for example, what I would do is watch, let's say, something that's about learning and then taking notes, right? So I couldn't even focus on eating, because the priority right then and there would be to learn, to take notes, to do all of that. And this is, I would say, important, because as you can see, there are so many ways to go about it, and it's pretty easy nowadays because you have ChatGPT. So coming up with ideas is not that hard. The hardest part is exactly this: to know that you need to do it. You need to have multiple formats, so videos, images. You need to have different messaging, talking with older women, with younger men, with different personas that your product usually would speak with. And then let's not forget about colors, because let's say you have a product, right? And it's for both men and women. Well, if you use the color pink, women will instantly know that that ad is for them, right? In most cases. I mean, I even have a pink shirt, right? But that's a totally different thing. I just don't have pink things in my home, and most men don't have, right? Because it's not seen as a masculine color. And if you use other colors, right, they could either be for men and women. But if you have the color pink, most likely you won't be targeting men. And that's important, because if you have only pink ads, good luck having men buy from you in most cases, right? I'm just saying probabilistically here, because eventually you get to those numbers where having a 2% increase in efficiency really helps. If you make 1 million a year, 2% means 20K, right? If you make 10 million a year, 5% means 50K, right? So it's so much, and it just adds up. It just adds up. Think if you make monthly 100K, right, which is typical for many e-commerce brands, then 5% is actually around 5K. So that's quite some amount of money, since you can pay a full-time team member, an agency. So there's so many things you can invest with once you have more money, right? So I would say that is the goal in most cases, to make sure that you're doing the most that you can with the resources that you have. And basically, creative diversity means planting multiple seeds and then seeing which ones work, right? I mean, let's not use metaphors or anything. Basically, you just want to test different ads and have them all running at the same time, because that's how I've had ad accounts perform really well. Not all will perform similar, not all will perform the same. You will have some ads that are better, but the main thing is that some ads will target different people, and that's how you over time get more customers, different customers, and your brand will grow. So to wrap it up, creative diversity, making things different, but to some extent still similar, because you're still selling or solving a specific problem. So with all of that being said, that's pretty much everything for today, and until next time, peace out.